Most people don't realize that DeWalt didn't start as the tool brand that we know and love today. It started as something very different. When you think of DeWalt, you probably think of black and yellow and probably a tool that can survive falling off of a ladder a time or two and still working just as good. Mine has, unless you're a Milwaukee guy. In that case, all the DeWalt guys are just chumps.
Welcome back to the Security Bros. I'm Ken, this is James. Here's the situation when it comes to DeWalt drills. Take it away, James.
Well, not just drills. We're talking saws, sawzalls. That's about all the saws. Speaking of saws though, it started as one invention. There was a guy, his last name was DeWalt. He started by making a radial arm saw, which I don't know if you're familiar with, kind of like a table, has a big arm. Think of like a chop saw. It's hooked to like an overhead thing. These things were actually kind of scary because if you see some of the old radial arm saws, a lot of saws nowadays, they have brakes on them. So when you release the trigger, it stops the blade, no worries. Some of these old radial arm saws, when you turn them off, they're just spinning and spinning. There was one channel I was watching on YouTube where I think the saw went for like over a minute or two. It was still spinning. Anyway.
Once it was turned off.
Yeah, they turned off the switch and it was, because it's spinning at such a high RPM and it just kept spinning and spinning and spinning. It didn't have any brake to stop that blade. But it started as one invention, a radial arm saw by one guy. Over the next 100 years, DeWalt has gone from woodworking invention to, now they make everything under the sun, from hand tools to ladders to drills, saws, like they got everything. Welcome back again to the Security Bros. I'm still James, this is Ken. DeWalt was founded by a guy named Raymond DeWalt. In 1924, Raymond created the saw that we talked about, the radial arm saw, and DeWalt. He was an industrial arts teacher, funny enough, and he saw that there was a need for a saw that could make more precise, repetitive cuts and make things convenient. It doesn't seem like a revolutionary idea today. We have table saws, circular saws, all kinds of saws. At the time, in woodworking, things required a lot more manual labor. It was a lot harder to get stuff set up. The radial arm saw allowed people to do cross cuts, rip cuts, and repetitive, accurate production, all with one machine. In 1924, DeWalt became an official company, and they were founded in Leola, Pennsylvania. In the early days, they focused primarily on woodworking machines. They really only sold to like industrial shops and manufacturing. They weren't a homeowner-based company. So like today, you can go to any old Home Depot, the homeowner or the professional can buy DeWalt tools. Back in the 24 or 5, in the early days. Yeah, back like 100 years ago when they first started, they were, like commercial.
Would they sell directly to construction companies or would they sell
to like factories, woodworking shops?
You don't take this to the job site in your van.
You're not taking that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think these were originally a little more stationary objects. Yeah.
Very cool. Okay.
Very cool, yeah.
So that's how they started.
By the 1940s, like a lot of companies, they ended up getting wrapped into the war effort. They had to, war production and factories, which brought us then to the next major shift in the company. So around 1949, DeWalt was sold to a company called American Machinery and Foundry, AMF. They were owned by AMF for about 10 years or so, maybe 11 years, at which point in 1960, they were sold to Stanley Black & Decker, which still owns them to this day. Stanley Black & Decker had a decision to make, and it was probably made before they bought DeWalt. Black & Decker, if you're aware of them, is more of like a home consumer brand. I have never seen a Black & Decker drill on the job site, but Black & Decker does make drills. John down the street maybe has a Black & Decker drill for his house. They're never professional grade tools. So Black & Decker wanted to get into that. So here comes the purchase of DeWalt. DeWalt became their professional line of tools. And in some cases, it's easier to just buy an entire company and make that your, professional grade rather than try to rebrand your entire existing company.
It sounds vaguely familiar. I did not realize Black & Decker owned DeWalt, the whole thing. All of DeWalt.
Yeah.
Which one makes more money? Which one does more annual revenue? DeWalt or Black & Decker?
I didn't look at that. So I did look into which tool company sells the most. I believe DeWalt has somewhere in the neighborhood of 16%. So they were one of the higher number of the highest percentage of a specific company. So I would presume that DeWalt probably sells more than Black & Decker.
You're saying they have more market share?
Market share. Don't quote me on that. It's sure to get some people riled up. There's a company called Techtronic Industries, or TTI. This is a company that owns everyone's favorite tool punching bag, and that is the big green guy, Ryobi. This company is, I believe, based out of Hong Kong, and so they own Ryobi, and this is going to piss a lot of people off when they find out. but they also own Milwaukee Tools, which is obviously DeWalt's big competitor. The elite of us on the construction site is always the guys that come in with the Milwaukee Tools.
The Milwaukee guys.
Milwaukee guys are Ryobi guys.
Wow.
But of course, the DeWalt guys are Black & Decker guys. One of the biggest turning points for DeWalt was the cordless tools. If you're like me, any corded tools I had, I wanted to get rid of. Cordless is a game changer. And the fact that like everything, what?
I would love to see you take a corded drill onto a construction site.
It used to be a thing. I mean, I still own them. You know,
Sure.
I'm not going to throw away a good tool. That'd be crazy. But
You're a good tool.
thank you. In the late 90s, early 2000s, DeWalt realized that cordless was the way of the future, and they got into that. The problem was the early models, they were weak. The batteries didn't last very long. It wasn't the greatest experience, let's be honest. DeWalt put some R&D into things and really made some cool innovations in battery tech and how, you know, their battery operated tools work. They came out with a couple battery platforms. They had the 18 volt platform, which was the original. Then they came out with 20 volt, eventually came out with their flex volt, which is the only battery that is able to do two different voltages and know which tool it's in and provide the correct voltage to the correct tool. DeWalt's the only one who has something like that. That's about when they started taking on the lead and they were no longer competing with everybody. They were capturing more of the market share. They went from a radial arm saw, single manufacturing plant kind of a tool. To this day, they have hundreds of different tools that they produce and a lot of cool innovations that they brought along the way. I love DeWalt tools. I have plenty of my own and we use them all the time. I've dropped multiple drills off the top of a ladder, not intentionally, but it happens, and they all have worked great. I've gotten them soaking wet multiple times. Today, they are a global company. They're used in construction a lot. They're one of the #1 sold tools for contractors, automotive work, and industrial work. The big part of their focus is on the construction worker and like skilled trades. And they make a big effort to run programs that keep them involved with tradesmen and sponsoring of trades.
And if you like the trades, then why don't you go ahead and like this video so we know and share it so your friends know. Bye.
Men hear a drill, it's like a dog whistle, just... You know, they go running up to that living room curtain. Honey, I think Jim's working on something over there. So they run over to the guy. Now, they don't actually help the guy. No, they just want to hang around the area where work is being done.